Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Play Branson, where you get to know Branson's entertainers better. And for the first time on the show today, I have Connor Finn. Connor is an entertainer over at the Sight and Sound Theater. He plays Peter in the production Jesus, and then on occasion he actually plays Jesus, which is both roles are critically important. And so really excited to have him on the show today. Now, I do want to tell you, every once in a while, we give you a vacation tip. Because some of you might be watching in your hotel rooms here in Branson. Others of you are watching in your homes, other locations. But if you're trying to figure out, hey, where should I go eat? What should I do? We would recommend two things. One, go to bransonrestaurants.com. That's a website that lists really all the restaurants in town. And so if you're like, say, hey, I want to search for barbecue or pizza or American food, international food, you can go there and you can search those things and find all the different restaurants located here in the area. And then there's also lots of coupons. So if you want to save some money, you want to stretch your dollars farther, you can do that there as well. Also, you might look in your hotel lobby for the Flavor of Branson Dining Guide. It's a great publication where you can see all the restaurants as well. There's coupons in there also. So that's your restaurant tip of the day. The restaurant scene is always changing in Branson. Lots of variety, lots of opportunity to eat at unique restaurants that you could not eat at when you're at home. So check them out. And we'll be back in just a second with Connor Finn.
There are so many things to do in Branson. You need help planning and booking all your fun. You need iBranson.com. You can find everything Branson has to offer from your computer, tablet, or cell phone. You can even buy tickets online or talk to one of their friendly Branson travel specialists. There's no sales pitches, no delivery fees, no service fees, and no waiting. It's fast and easy. Find your fun at iBranson.com. Do it all online or call 877-ENTERTAIN. That's 877-368-3782. iBranson.com.
Hey folks, welcome back to Play Branson. And today, for the first time ever on the show, I have Connor Finn with Sight and Sound Theater. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here. Thank you.
I said earlier that you're the second person that I've had from Sight and Sound. So
Yes, sir.
we always love when we get to talk to folks from Sight and Sound Theater. Number one, I love the show. I love the mission, love what it stands for. But we also know it's tough to sometimes, because there are so many entertainers.
Yeah.
And the focus on that show is all about the Bible and the gospel. And
Yes,
so
sir.
there's not a lot of focus, and it's on purpose, the entertainer. And so tell people about your history and how you got to Sight and Sound.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born and raised in St. Paul, Minnesota, way up in the north. And I grew up in a family that my mother is a theater director. So I grew up just kind of always being immersed in theater from a very, very young age, and really grew to love it. And even though I saw people doing it professionally, I didn't realize it was something that I could do professionally until quite a bit later. But I saw so much, and I did do a couple of things professionally as a kid, but never really thought of it as something that I could do for my entire life. So I got to high school, and one of my teachers kind of pulled my mother aside and said, hey, I think that Connor could actually do this as a living. And of course my mom was terrified, because she's worked with actors her whole life, and she knows the life of what an actor entails. It can be a lot. And so she kind of pulled me aside one day and she said, hey Connor, I just want you to know, this is what your life will be. You're going to be kind of living from job to job and these kinds of things. And I want you to know it's not always constant, and a lot of it relies on what other people think about you. Is that okay?
So she was giving you advice.
Yes, she was.
As a mother.
Yeah.
And professionally too.
Yeah, it was hard for her to think about me at first going into acting. But then she saw me do a couple of things on stage when I was in high school, and she was like, yeah, no, you're ready to do this. And so I went to college for it in Central Illinois, a place called Illinois Wesleyan University, about 2 hours south of Chicago, and I got a BFA in musical theater there, Bachelor of Fine Arts. And I started working professionally actually while I was still in college over the summers, and have been doing so ever since, very consistently, and thank God for that. And I love it.
And so how did you get to Branson? Like, I mean, did you go straight from college to Sight and Sound, or did you have other things happen?
I kind of did the summer stock circuit sort of thing, where I was doing summer stock theaters kind of all throughout the United States, all over the place, and I eventually ended up in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
And there's a theater there that does a big theater conference that Sight and Sound happened to be attending, and so they saw me at a kind of a smaller audition callback later. They had asked me to come. They saw me do the bigger audition, and they were like, "Hey, we'd love to work with you at some point. Here are our details. We'll let you know if anything comes up." And then something would come up, and then I'd be doing a different gig somewhere else, and then I'd contact them, and they were already booked. And so it took about a year of kind of going back and forth. But then we finally kind of settled, and were able to. I was able to start working here for year 2 of Samson. And
so what year was that then?
That would have been 2018.
2018. Okay.
And I started off as Samson's understudy, so I went a couple of times a week for Samson, which was really fun. And I was one of the Philistine commanders. I was in one of those mixes, and then an ensemble pattern as well. And just fell in love with the theater. It was just so amazing. My mom was right in that you have to constantly prove yourself as an actor your whole life. And it can be really taxing to have to do that, every day, to get up and do that. And what was so beautiful about coming to work for Sight and Sound is you can let go of that. Every day you get on that stage and you say, "Okay, Lord, I'm here, and I want you to be heard through me. I'm giving this over to you." And the peace that comes with that is just incredible. Yeah. I just loved it. And ever since then, I've wanted to keep working here, and I obviously I love the productions that we do, and they're beautiful. The spectacle, and getting to bring the gospel to 2,000 and some people a day, or a show is really amazing. So yeah.
So you've been here in Branson now, really going on almost 4 years at Sight and Sound, and that's one of the things I like about Sight and Sound as well, is because a lot of people have moved here to just be in Sight and Sound. In some cases, then they go on maybe to do other things in the community. Sometimes they leave, but it's a lot of things there. We're not editing that out, by the way.
That's okay.
Things like that happen. I'll have to get a new chair. So since you've been here, you've played different roles.
Yes, sir.
Right? So tell us about some of the roles that you've played then.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I started as Samson's understudy, and that was a really great role to kind of get to sink my teeth into at first. Really just a crazy story, of a person who obviously his mother is told by God, "Hey, he's here for something. Have him keep the Nazirite vow." He wasn't able to cut his hair, wasn't able to eat grapes, wasn't able to be around the dead. It's a very interesting vow, the Nazirite vow. But then you see him experience God truly. Seeing miracles happen. He fights off thousands of Philistines, and then all of a sudden God brings water from a rock because he cannot. He's so thirsty and he's so tired, and water comes out of this rock. And yet you see 20 years later, when Samson is a judge over Israel, you see this very, very tired man who has almost forgotten what God did for him. And it helps with faith for people, because I think some people feel like, "Oh man, I've seen these things, and yet sometimes my faith suffers." And it helps to see these stories of a man who literally saw physical miracles of God constantly, and yet 5 or 10 years later had almost forgotten them and had almost forgotten God. Right?
Well,
and so getting to see that story of redemption afterwards, obviously he finds his faith again and brings the temple down, and it's a wonderful thing. But he's a great role model of faith towards the end of his life.
Yeah.
Loved that. And then I played Joseph in Miracle of Christmas, which is a super fun show that we bring to Branson every couple of years. And obviously it's kind of the more golden age style of musical theater. but it's beautiful. It's a great show. And to get to play Joseph and to sit there and see these miracles that we read about happening, the whole journey out to Egypt and back and being in the stable scene. Some days I was just sitting there and I was like, I read about this so many times and now I'm here. It's an amazing thing. And then obviously now to Jesus, and now I'm playing Peter. Most of the time I play Peter in the show. I'm also a Jesus understudy, and I go in for that once or twice a week.
Yeah. Okay, well, folks, this is a great opportunity for us to stop. We're going to hear more about this show, Jesus, in just a moment. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey folks, welcome back to the show, and we are here today with Connor Finn over at Sight and Sound Theater. And Connor, you had just started talking where you play Peter in the musical Jesus, and then you do a day or two where you actually play Jesus.
That's correct.
And this is the last season for Jesus. So you guys normally, when you do a show, it's a 2-year run.
That's right.
And so maybe somebody, and I'm hoping no one's not, I'm hoping everybody has heard about Jesus, but maybe they haven't heard about this show, Jesus, or Sight and Sound. Maybe they don't know anything about this.
Sure.
Tell people what this is, what they can expect.
Absolutely. So this is a story that, first of all, was in our Pennsylvania location for 2 years before it came to us, and it's we've done many of the names of the Bible, many of the big names, and you see Moses, you see Samson, you see Jonah, and it was really awesome before I even started working here to see the name Jesus pop up, and I was like, okay, what does that entail? And it's exactly what you would think it is. It's our take on the life of Christ, and it's a really beautiful way of doing it that we have taken on. And what I really love about the way that they wrote our story is you often see the life of Christ in the portrayal. Usually it's Jesus leading people from spot to spot, and he's always taking the lead and he's always taking the reins, which was, that's a part of it. But what I really love about our production is you see how Jesus reacts to circumstances. He is always with his disciples, and oftentimes the circumstances come to him. A leper comes running in, asking him, please heal me of this. And you get to see Jesus's face and his reactions and how he says, and people say, no, you don't understand. This guy is a leper. And he goes, no, you don't understand. This man is loved. And walking up to him, or they're just walking through Jerusalem and they see a blind man, and you see how he encounters people and the kind of love that he shares, right? Which is just beautiful. And I think that's a very unique representation. Not to say the other representations of Jesus in many other films and shows have not been great, but I think that's something unique that we do that I really love.
Yeah. So as Peter,
yes, sir.
You're one of the most important disciples, right? Because Jesus is going to build his church on, you're considered the rock, right?
Right.
But you're also, aren't you the guy that kind of denied him too?
Yes.
And so you're probably, you have a very important role in this production.
Thank you. Yeah. I think I love playing Jesus, don't get me wrong. It's a wonderful role to play. But when I saw it, I really was hoping that I'd get to play Peter. Because there's something about Peter, I think he might be one of the most relatable people, especially in the New Testament, that was there. David is very relatable. Paul is very relatable. But I think what's so relatable about Peter is that if you look at Peter, he really, he had a very, very tough upbringing, at least in our show, and he has a very difficult time, coming to grasp religion and coming to grasp especially Christ and faith. But the one redeeming quality about him, you don't really see any redeeming qualities about him at the beginning, but the one redeeming quality you do see is he's 100% for what he believes in, which at the beginning is money, is taking care of his family, but not in the correct way. He thinks taking care of his family in a monetary sense,
right.
and in providing, and none of those, at least in the way that he is doing it, are really correct.
Yeah.
And you see Jesus take that 100%ness of Peter and instead saying, hey, I'm the way here. And Peter goes, yeah, okay, whatever. And then Jesus actually performs a miracle. And Peter goes, okay, this is what I believe in now. Yeah. And you see that. And that's a story that we can all relate to.
So if somebody hasn't been to Sight and Sound Theater, talk to them about how big is the cast and just the stage and because it's, folks, it's world class. It's world class.
Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. So we have a cast of 50 people. And it's just, it's a really, really large-scale production. We have just as many technicians backstage, and it's on a 300-foot wraparound stage. Think about a football field, but curved.
Right.
It's that long. And it's a really, really incredible thing to be able to be a part of, because I think what's so crazy about the Bible is everything is it's larger than life when you read these stories in the Bible and the miracles that happen. And so we need to have a space that was able to mirror that, right? And so that's what we do. We have an auditorium that seats just over 2,000 people, and a 300-foot wraparound stage, and a very, very large cast, getting to bring that to life. Some of the best special effects equipment that I've ever seen in a theater. We have the title of the largest flying LED screen in the world currently. It's just gigantic, and it brings the entire story to life in a whole new way.
Yeah. So, first of all, the theater is amazing. $40 million plus theater. One of the things that a lot of people don't know is underneath it actually has animal training facilities underneath the facility. So besides the 50 people, you have a lot of animals. Yeah. And it's really about bringing the Bible to life. So maybe you don't even know what the Bible is, but I'm just telling you, if you like theater, if you like entertainment, you need to go see Sight and Sound, because it's just world class. I mean, and that's what you guys do. You don't do it halfway. You do it 100%.
Thank you.
And so every time I've been to a show, it's been amazing. And so I normally try to go once or twice. It depends on the season. Now, I do want to point out, folks, that Jesus will be leaving Branson. I mean, he'll still be here, but the show will be.
Jesus is here.
And we can always have this fun with this. We can only do this. But the last date, and this is important because the only place you can see this in the entire world is Branson, okay? But it's only through October 8th. And I'm like, well, why just October 8th? Because they're going to switch over to Miracle of Christmas.
That is correct. We'll be doing Miracle of Christmas through the Christmas season, which will be really wonderful, coming back as always. And then after that, we will be premiering Queen Esther here in Branson as well, which is a wonderful story, getting to experience a little bit of the Old Testament in that way. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful story that they have spent 2 years getting ready in Pennsylvania, and now we get to bring it to Branson.
Yeah. So the Christmas show will start actually November 5th, and it'll go through December 31st, the Miracle of Christmas. And you normally do that every 2 years, not every year.
Yeah, it depends on the schedule and just kind of what shows we have. But it's been kind of an every 2 years sort of thing.
So here's a good idea. Go to the Miracle of Christmas, and then when you get out of the show, turn right and go to the Lights of Joy Christmas Light Drive-Thru. That's a perfect combination for a Christmas event. And so if you're planning Christmas, it's something to think about. But you have to come see Jesus through October 8th. If you think it goes through the end of October, you're wrong. And you don't want to say, I'm going to go the 30th or the 29th. You do not want to do that. And you want to come see this show because after the 8th, who knows when it will be performed again. I mean, it may not be around for several years. I mean,
it might be, we're not sure. But please, this show is meant for everyone. We would love for anyone and everyone to come and see this show, no matter what your relationship is with Jesus, or if you've never heard of him, or if you've known him for your whole life. Please come to see the show.
Yeah, I guarantee you're going to be impacted, and it is one of the most life-changing stories you will ever hear. So, Connor, thanks so much for coming out today. We really appreciate you being here, and look forward to seeing what God does in your life in the future.
Thank you so much. Bless you. Wonderful to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
We'll be back in just a second to wrap the show up.
There are so many things to do in Branson. You need help planning and booking all your fun. You need ibranson.com. You can find everything Branson has to offer from your computer, tablet, or cell phone. You can even buy tickets online or talk to one of their friendly Branson travel specialists. There's no sales pitches, no delivery fees, no service fees, and no waiting. It's fast and easy. Find your fun at ibranson.com. Do it all online or call 877-ENTERTAIN. That's 877-368-3782. ibranson.com.
Hey folks, thanks for watching the show today. We want to thank Connor for coming out, and I just loved his passion, loved his excitement for his show. And so just be aware that Jesus plays through October 8th, and then November 5th through December 31st is the Miracle of Christmas. Now, if you're thinking about going to the Jesus show, it is typically Tuesday through Saturday, and the show times are either 3:30 and 7:30. So check the day, because they don't necessarily have 2 shows every day. And there are a few dates where they actually have 3 shows, and those are at 11:30. This is the Sight and Sound Theater is over at 1001 Shepherd of the Hills Expressway. You can't miss the theater. It's one of the most amazing theaters in the entire United States, and I don't say that lightly, but it is quite an amazing theater. Next week's show is Kelly Parrish with #1 hits of the 60s. She's been in a lot of other shows in Branson. First time on the show as well. We look forward to having her on the show. There's a few things right around the corner I do want to tell you about that are coming up. On June 4th, out at Silver Dollar City, we have the Ozark Mountain Daredevils. That's part of their summer concert series, and I think the Ozark Mountain Daredevils, this may be their 50th season. And then here's a show that's brand new, I don't think they've ever been to Branson. On June 30th is a show called Celtic Throne over at the Mansion Theater. So you might want to check that out. And then I just found this out the other day, and I'm like, am I reading this right? But the Newsboys are returning to Silver Dollar City on July 23rd. If you like Christian rock, they are one of the top Christian rock bands in the country. And you'll want to check them out on July 23rd. And then in September, we have Colin Ray, Sammy Kershaw, and John Conley, to name a few. I think there's going to be a few more announcements, or at least one more, out at the concert series out at Silver Dollar City in September. So a lot of exciting things coming up, and those are just a few of them. If you need help planning your entire Branson vacation, whether that's shows, attractions, hotels, dining, the folks over at ibranson.com can help you plan your entire vacation. They can actually help you get Jesus tickets or the Miracle of Christmas tickets as well. You can go online, or you can call them at 877-ENTERTAIN. Hey, if you haven't liked us on Facebook, like us there. Tell us what entertainers you would like us to see here on the show, and we'll do our best to get them for you in a future episode. Thanks for all your positive feedback and comments. Thanks for watching, and have a great week.